Okay, so we're changing things up a little bit. Chris isn't here, so on the side of the screen you can see 4 different possible reasons he's not here. Let me know in the comments which one you actually think it is. But I'm excited because check out this giant sucker. This is the new Sigma 135mm f1.4 designed specifically for mirrorless cameras. This thing costs about the same as a lot of the professional f1.8 options, but it's 2/3 of a stop brighter. What's going on here? Let's play a game of what's the catch. We're gonna get to the bottom of it. I'm Jordan Drake, and this is PetaPixel. Look, I don't want to alarm you, so I'm jumping in here with a quick warning. Later in this episode is some music that slaps, and that music that slaps was brought to us by our friends at Audio. They have a massive and constantly expanding library of wonderful music that you can put in your videos. But I've got a special offer for you, because instead of a subscription or downloading one song at a time for a fee, what if you could get lifetime access to that entire library? Well, with coupon code PetaPixel199, you can get $300 off lifetime access to Audio's entire music library, down from $500 to $199. Oh, and that is not all, because if you sign up for that lifetime music, you can also get $50 off if you also choose to sign up for Audio's entire sound effects library, lifetime access on that as well. At that point, all of your oral needs are satisfied for video production. Thanks, Audio, for sponsoring this episode. Look, I don't always love hosting, but I jumped at the chance this week because I am a huge fan of the 135mm focal length. I've actually been pleading with a lot of the manufacturers to please make more lenses in this kind of short telephoto range. And that's for a few reasons, but the biggest one for me is this is a fantastic candid focal length if you want to capture facial expressions without getting your lens right up in someone's face. And I actually find this a great focal length for doing street photography. I know Chris really likes an 85mm, and I like the 135 for similar reasons. It really lets you have kind of a flat, painterly look to a lot of your candid street scenes. But one of the main reasons I like 135s is historically they've been pretty small lenses, and that is definitely not the case with this lens. And this lens is coming in at 1,430 grams. That's 3/5 of a noct, and if you look at a lot of the professional 135 1.8 options, those are usually around like the 1 kilogram, half a noct kind of range, so you are definitely paying for some of the extra light gathering here. But in every way, this is a very professional lens. You've got an aperture ring on it, which can be declicked if you're shooting video. Autofocus, manual focus selector switch. You've got a custom button on it. As well, you can lock the aperture ring into automatic mode, and we've got actually a beautifully dampened manual focus ring on this. The only control I haven't mentioned is an optical stabilization switch, and that is because this lens does not have any kind of optical stabilization in it. Now, most of the E-mount and L-mount camera bodies you're going to be attaching this to do have some form of IBIS on it, but if you want to pop this on a cinema camera, just know it's going to be unstabilized. As well, this hood is absolutely enormous, but it needs to be because we've got 105mm filter diameter on this. That's going to cause us some real issues when we start shooting portraits with light a little bit later. We'll talk about that. But yes, this is a very big lens. It's so big, in fact, that this actually has a tripod collar. I love that it has Arca-Swiss dovetails cut out on it. You can fully rotate it or remove it. There are no detents for your vertical and horizontal orientation on it, but I mean, this is a very professional feeling lens, and it's fully weather sealed as well. I'm always like, Chris, there's some discarded clothes you can take a picture of. And he's like, no, why would I want to take a picture of that? But he's not around today, so I can take all the pictures of discarded clothes I want.
Express yourself. Express yourself. Well, you don't ever need help from nobody else. Say all you got to do now. Express yourself. Whatever you do, look on. I'm doing good. All right.
Just find that light. Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Well, it's not what you look like when you're doing what you're
Steve,
doing.
great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
You're not going to cut this out, are you?
No, it's in it.
Yeah?
Okay, so we have this absolutely enormous front element on this lens. How fast are the motors actually going to be able to move it forward and back? Well, all of Sigma's latest lenses have their linear motors in them, and I was absolutely shocked at how fast this thing can focus. I mean, from infinity to macro, it's almost instantaneous. I really like using a 135mm for indoor sports, and despite this huge piece of glass here, this lens is going to be absolutely awesome for tracking fast-moving subjects. Okay, this lens is all about the bokeh, and is the bokeh broke-a, or is it brilliant? We're going to head to my favorite place to test bokeh, Leopold's Tavern right here. They have really nice specular highlights there, but also like a whole bunch of beer and food. So let's do this. Okay, that sandwich was good, but the bokeh on this lens is better. It is absolutely gorgeous. And looking at the specular highlights on this, you can see we're not getting any kind of soap bubble effect, and just incredibly clean, out of focus specular highlights that really draw the eye to your chosen subject. And when you look at these shots where we've got focus transitions with the very shallow depth of field that this offers, it is incredibly smooth, not at all distracting. The only thing you could possibly complain about is if you don't like the effect of cat's eye bokeh when you're shooting wide open. This does definitely have some, but if you even stop it down to f1.8, the equivalent of a lot of the professional 135s, you can see that cat's eye effect is largely gone. So this is just some of the nicest bokeh I've ever seen from a lens. Okay, I am schleppen, which is an essential part of any portrait photo session, and I mean, honestly, this is primarily going to be used, I think, as a portrait lens. So let's set up some lights and do it properly. So I want to shoot a nice portrait with shallow depth of field, but in order to hit my 250th of a second maximum flash sync on the A7R5, I had to meter this thing out to f9. Now generally I'd be like, no big deal, I'll just screw in a filter, but you know what? I don't have any 105mm filters kicking around, especially not neutral density filters, so I'm gonna have to get a little creative. So I guess we're gonna use just a big ol' 4x5. And you know what? Worst case scenario, I can always submit this to shitty rigs. Okay, so for shooting a portrait here, we've got really hard overhead light right now, so I had an idea. My model is going to be Levi Holwell, who has been gracious enough to shoot this entire episode, and he looks like he's been doing a great job. If he didn't, then be sure to let him know in the comments. But anyways, he's also volunteering to be my portrait subject, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that hard light and really aggressively backlight him. So then I'm going to fill in the shadows with the Westcott FJ200. Now, it may not be Westcott's strongest light, but it's got more than enough power to punch through this 4-stop ND filter I've got on here, as well as this rapid box switch softbox, and you can see it turns a unusable image into one that I'm actually pretty happy with. I think Levi looks great, hopefully as great as the video that I'm recording right now looks, Levi. So if you want to try out Westcott's FJ200 strobe, just click the link in the description below or go to fjwestcott.com. Thanks so much to Westcott. They are PetaPixel's preferred lighting partner. We tell you, that depth of field, it's just luscious, like just makes things pop out. I think if you're close to something, it's actually way too shallow. It's almost like distractingly so, but you get a little distance from your subject with this, and whatever you're photographing just pops right out. It's pretty great. LoCA has been a scourge on extremely fast, especially telephoto designs like this very lens. So what is LoCA? Well, it's when you get color fringing in the foreground and background out of focus areas, and it's a real problem because it's quite difficult to correct in post. And I'm thrilled to say, as you can see here, there is almost no LoCA. The color is really well controlled, even with these bright highlights. This is an incredibly strong performance in a lens that I would kind of expect to suffer from some LoCA. So like all lenses that can give you a truly unique look, this might be really useful for video applications as well as photo, but one thing we definitely want to test in that regard is breathing. And breathing is when, as you rack the focus from near to infinity, does the field of view change? Because it can actually be really distracting in your shot if it looks like the lens is zooming. And well, let me tell you, this lens is like getting a phone call at 3 a.m. from Chris Nichols, because it is just nothing but heavy breathing on this. You can see field of view is shifting dramatically on it, so you just need to be aware of that if you want to use this for video applications. And yes, I know it's you, Chris. Caller ID has been around for decades. Okay, so what about flare? We've got an absolutely giant front element, so I pulled off that impressive hood to see how it handles direct light coming straight at the lens. And man, I can't find anything to complain about with this. Look at this. There's a tiny loss of contrast at f1.4, but even just stopping it down a little bit to 2.8, That's basically gone. We're not seeing any kind of ghosting in here, no smearing, and this is an excellent performance when shooting straight into the sun, which is going to be awesome for backlit portraits. I know you're all like, okay, but when is he going to get to sharpness? How sharp is this lens actually? Well, it is wicked sharp. It is sharper than the writing on Arrested Development. I mean, let's look at the test charts that Chris shot before he left. And looking right in the middle, wide open, just absolutely tons of detail and a very contrasty image with this. In fact, stopping down, we're not really seeing any improvement to sharpness, and the contrast barely moves as well. It's already outstanding to begin with. Now, if we jump over to the corners on this, you can see it does soften up a little bit at those extreme corners and a little bit of a loss of contrast there, but stopping it down even to 2.8, the entire image from center to corner is basically flawless. So this is an extremely sharp lens, and no matter what body you use it on, in both E mount or L mount, you're gonna get wonderful results. So at the start of this video, I said we were gonna play a game of what's the catch with the Sigma 135 f1.4. And honestly, it should have been obvious right from the start. This is a very big, very heavy lens, and that 105mm filter thread is going to pose a lot of issues if you're regularly using filters for portrait photography. But that being said, in every other technical area, this lens is an absolutely outstanding performer, and the price is in line with a lot of the f1.8 options out there. So if you're using an L-mount camera, I think there's absolutely no question here. This is definitely the 135 prime to get. The only other option is an older HSM that's based on a DSLR design. This outperforms it in every regard. If you're in E-mount, things are a little bit more complicated because I do absolutely love the Sony 135 f1.8. But this lens is a little bit contrastier wide open despite being a brighter aperture. The price is very similar on it. It's really, do you want a small walk around 135 or are you willing to put up with the bulk that comes along with the Sigma model? But for me, I'm absolutely willing to put up with the size and weight for the performance that this lens offers. And I'm gonna be pushing really hard on Chris to see its inclusion in our upcoming best lenses of the year for 2025. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know, would you be willing to drag this sucker around for the performance it gives you? We'll be discussing it on the PetaPixel podcast. You can watch it right here on the same channel or just listen to it on all your favorite podcasting apps. Just search for the PetaPixel podcast. And if you want to support the work that we're doing here, the best way is with a PetaPixel membership. You can go to the website, ads free. You can also get sweet discounts from the Moment Store, KEH, and our own merch store. Also download full-size JPEGs and RAW from this very photo shoot. The pictures that I took, you can download them. Take a look for yourself. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you all soon with more on PetaPixel.